So my son Alex went to a little U.S. College, and in his final year, that's him in the red shirt there, you can't see his face, but I watched the boys watching television. And I got this picture. They had 3 TVs going. Each of them had a laptop, and they were playing a little game that something would come on one of the TVs, and some kid would say, well, that's not true. And another kid would say, yeah, I think that is true. So they'd say, you're on. And they had a $1 bet. And then they're on the web searching to, kind of find out if it's true and scrutinizing it. And they're in this big discussion. It's a little different than me watching Gunsmoke, And finally, the film. The Berlin Film Festival every year has something called the Berlinale Keynote. And I did it about 3 years ago, and I talked about this thing called the film 2.0. When the film becomes a digital thing, then a whole new world of opportunities open up. Now, I was, a week ago at the Super Bowl, I was speaking for a corporate client there, and after me, Jeffrey Katzenberg came up and he spoke, and he went on a tear about the movie industry, in particular movie theaters. And he said, wow, you're going to go to the Super Bowl, there's this huge screen, all this interactive stuff, and fabulous food, and great service, and so on. Sports facilities all around the world are transforming themselves for the digital age. You go into a movie theater, he says, it's a form of abuse. Now, he's talking about the United States, and in Canada, it's not that bad. But you go into movie theaters, and there you are in this dirty seat. There's no ushers anymore. They're still serving popcorn and Diet Cokes and giant things like this. The costs are huge. The screens are not that great. They've improved the sound a bit. He described this theater in LA and Hollywood that has an IMAX-type screen for running regular films. There's all kinds of interactive stuff that you can do, beautiful seats, fabulous cappuccino, and their waiters, and all kinds of service. You can't get a ticket there. Tickets cost $24. You have to order them 8 days in advance. You create value for the new paradigm, and people will pay for value. So we have self-organization now affecting the funding of films, affecting the production of films. I mean, the narrative of a movie is kind of a movie begins and it ends. And there's a plot and character development and so on. And that goes back 100 years. I mean, Sergei Eisenstein's great movie, Battleship Potemkin, 1927. That has really been unchanged. And sometimes you just want to sit down and veg and be entertained. But for this new generation, biggest generation ever, grown up digital, they want to be engaged and want to interact as opposed to being the passive recipients. They're going to want to be in the movie, or at least in a lot of movies. So why don't we find, this is Swarm of Angels, new collaborative ways of funding a film. Why don't we, Tracy Fragments, to get to remix the film. This is one of Helen Page's film. Why don't we move towards a new model of the narrative? Katzenberg was saying that Shrek 2 is coming out. He said, we're 18 months away at DreamWorks. Right now, you make an animation, and the artists create this thing, and then they put it out to rendering, and these huge data farms render the animation, and 8 hours later, you get it back. He says, we're 18 months away from having real-time rendering. So you can create the thing as you're going along and watch it. And of course, once you can do that, you can enable the audience to be part of the movie in a highly customized way. I don't know if I'd be an ogre or a donkey or what in Shrek, but again, a whole new exciting paradigm and a new opportunity that exists. So I just talked to you about one of these 16 institutions. If it feels like it's a time of great change, you're not alone, because every one of these is going through this fundamental shift from an old mass production, mass media, industrial model to a new networked model. Let me close with a thought. This is a time of great change, and leadership is changing as well. And the stakes for this industry are very, very high. You know the canary in the mine shaft idea. Miners used to put a canary into a mine shaft, and if it didn't come back, that means it was killed by poisonous gases, and they knew it was difficult. It's kind of the first one out there. I love the media industries. I love Canada. And I think we have a great industry in this country. And just looking at the agenda of this conference and the speakers, I can see that you're very, very serious about making the step towards a whole new paradigm in media. And I'd like to end with a short little video that kind of makes a point, if I could. And if we could just go to that video. Anthony Williams and I started wondering if nature could teach us anything about this age of networked intelligence, because we were sort of exhausted on what humans could teach us. And we looked at bees and various kinds of ants and termites and so on. We came across this thing called the murmuration. Sheep come in flocks, fish come in schools, starlings come in murmurations. And outside or on the moors of the UK, starlings in the winter months are out over a 20-mile radius doing their starling thing, foraging for food and stuff like that. And at night they come together and they create one of the most spectacular things in nature. It's called a murmuration, from the murmuring of the wings of the birds. And it's not just for show. The murmuration has function. It protects the birds. Look on the right there, you can see a hawk being chased away by these birds, a predator. They can defend themselves through their collective strength. The murmuration warms up the birds for the cold night ahead, and it enables them to have an information exchange and to organize themselves. But you know, there's no one leader. There's no hierarchy. Everyone gets a chance to be a leader. And this murmuration kind of functions according to the principles that I've been describing to you today. It's a big collaboration. It's very open. Sharing of location, conjoint kind of responses, really. There's an interdependence where somehow the birds behave as if the interest of the individual bird is in the interest of the murmuration as a whole. And when the moment is right, this incredible thing happens. And it has this huge kind of, I don't know, integrity, that they have together the courage to take on a fearsome predator. Now, is this some kind of fanciful analogy, or could we actually learn something from this? Well, birds, starlings, are not intelligent, and they don't have consciousness, but humans are, and they do. Could we, through these vast pipes of glass and air, could we connect ourselves together and do more than just share information or content or knowledge? Could we start to, I don't know, share our intelligence and perhaps even create some kind of consciousness that goes beyond an individual group or an organization or a community to a society? Scientists that have looked at this thing say they've never seen an accident. And I look at this thing and I see those courageous young people in Egypt and Tunisia and in various countries around the world working together as peers, creating the first ever peer revolutions, and together finding the collective strength and the power to take on tyrannical regimes. Could this murmuration help us achieve some kind of consciousness, and in doing so to solve many of the problems that face us? Maybe we could create learning organizations. If we were conscious, we could learn. Maybe if we somehow come together collectively, this age of networked intelligence might be an age of promise fulfilled and of peril unrequited. Is that possible? I don't know. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Wow. Well, I found that incredibly informative and incredibly inspirational. And I really hope we can learn from this and do some really incredible things. So thank you very much, Don, for taking the time to be with us here today and putting so much energy and effort into communicating with us and collaborating with us. And we hope starting something new and exciting.